That's really odd then. Somebody else has my lashes now. Fucking fantastic.
I would have passed it because we got Home Depot letter for free or something.
Oh, that's our next door neighbor. Fantastic. Somebody else got my lashes. Oh shit. I didn't realize chat was already popping off. I will wait to open this on the stream. Somebody else has my lashes. I'm very upset about it. Yep. Our mail person has a habit of just throwing shit everywhere, and so apparently my package was delivered yesterday, but not to my mailbox. So I'm just hoping somebody returns it. I would love that. There were 4 pairs of lashes in there. What do you mean? Oh my god. What's up, guys, and welcome to today's edition of Unite for Noobs. We are on episode 3. Good morning to my co host, SoLow TV. How are you today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I could complain, but realistically, nobody would care, so. No,
Oh,
seriously, it's a good day. We took the kids last night to go see the Mario movie.
oh, I took my daughter to go see that. She loved it.
It was amazing.
She's been doing
Also, hi
nothing but singing
James.
Peaches.
Hi James, hi Vision, hi A follower, Foxy, Blasian, AJ's here, Navi's here. Alex, welcome in, Alex. I saw
Hi,
Nanera. Hi
everybody.
Shaxo. Geez, everybody's here. Look at this.
Yeah.
I'm very excited. So today, also hi Foxy. Thank you for being on top of the shout outs today. So today we have a very, this is going to be a very in depth, very intense episode of Unite for Noobs. We are going to be going over micro plays and macro plays. And for your girls specifically, this is a big area that I get hung up in. And so I know for a lot of us that suffer through solo queue, this is going to be one of those things where not just to educate you for your micro macro plays, but to learn to also kind of identify micro macro plays from your teammates and from the other team. Hi Sarv. Hi Void. Oh my God, we have all the knock towels here. No
Oh,
pressure.
my
Your
my
team.
team proteges are all here.
There's a
Ooh.
little bit of an echo. That is interesting. I wonder where it's coming from. Oh, you know what? Probably because. Am I still live in voice chat? I thought I was muted in voice chat.
Yeah, I have myself completely what you call it? I have myself completely muted in Discord and everything.
Uh, oh no, it was because so my voice was being broadcast through voice chat for some reason, and it was coming through my headset. Is that better?
I can actually hear kind of the hold on.
It's still echoing. I don't hear it in my ear. It's still there.
I don't hear it anymore.
Hold on a second. Maybe I have to. Maybe I have to completely. Oh, I just. Maybe I have to completely mute and deafen the voice chat. Is that better for you guys?
Yeah, I don't hear it anymore.
Do you have the stream on screen
But yeah,
capture?
it
Oh, it's
stopped. All
better.
right, we're good. We're good.
You know what it was? I think because you're broadcasting your application and not the screen, we were hearing stuff come through the browser because I think you have my stream up.
Oh. Whoop.
Ta-da! Technology! Yay!
Yeah,
That's okay. We fixed
my
it.
bad.
We fixed it. It's okay. It's okay. We're still caffeinating. It's early for those of us on the West Coast, maybe.
It's
Yeah.
I have no excuse. It's 1 p.m. on my end.
I'm gonna pop out the chat so I can keep up with everybody over here. Yeah, just because I wanna be able to keep up with the chat. Actually, you know what? Let me pop that back in real quick. I'm gonna pop that. Go back in.
Oh, Lord.
I have messed up my stuff now. There we go. Okay, you get back in there. We're gonna put that on users, and then we're gonna go over here, and I'm gonna show chat, and I'm going to maximize this because I can see your lovely face over here. There. Now we can read stuff. It's 12:30 in sunny Florida.
Oh.
Wait, why did I see 12:30? 13:10 in sunny. Yeah, it should be 10 after 1. Okay,
Yeah.
so we have a lot to cover today.
All
And
right. Yeah. Yep. Yep.
so let's go over a couple of basics. One is if you have a question for SoLow or myself, I don't know why you would ask me, but if you have a question about what we're presenting today as we're going along, use the chat command !question, and we'll put you into the queue. I only ask that you save your question until we actually get to you, because sometimes the question will get lost in chat if you just type it before we have a chance to kind of acknowledge you. So there's that. SoLow also does offer coaching. So we have his contact information if you use !coaching. And then I'm going to let SoLow talk a little bit about his beginner to master series and talk about why there's no video today.
Yeah, so I do a series on YouTube called Beginner to Masters. It is a comprehensive guide of everything you need to know on how to play Unite. The reason that there is no video this week is because the difference between micro and macro play, the amount of absolute like coverage that you would need to talk about macro plays, because they are very situational, the entire video would probably be about like 30 minutes long. And I kind of pride myself on the beginner to master series being very bite-sized, so that people can, stay engaged with it, and they don't like, click off halfway through, and they actually get all of the information that they need. So I'm currently working on a way to get that condensed into like a 15-minute video, and it's taking a little longer than expected. So, there is no video today, but I will be putting out a video for the beginner to masters for macro play.
Awesome. So, but just in case you do want to catch up on the rest of the series on SoLow's YouTube channel, you can use the chat command !B2M for beginner to masters, and that will actually pull up SoLow's link to his YouTube channel, so you can go over there and subscribe. And make sure that you check out his other videos that have correlated with our series here. Also, hi Casey, I saw you come in. Welcome in. Yeah, so lots of information today. So we're really just going to dig right into it. Nanera and Foxy, I'm just going to ask if you guys can kind of help keep an eye on the question queue for me. And I will also have it pulled up here myself. It'll work a lot like the game queue, but it'll just basically say that you have a question in the queue, and then we'll get to you as soon as possible. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to SoLow, and we're going to talk about micro and macro plays today.
All right. Yeah, so honestly, before I even start, I do have a tendency to ramble when I get onto a topic that I feel like I need to explain a lot of. If you do have a question, and there is a question in the queue that pertains to what I'm talking about, do not be afraid to cut me off. And if I start like getting past the topic. But yeah, so first, what is the difference between micro and macro play? So the easiest explanation is, if you're getting into a team fight, micro play is how to play that team fight, like how to actually fight it. Macro play is how to position before the team fight even starts. So a micro play is knowing how to play around your cooldowns, knowing what moves your enemy has used, knowing if they have Unite moves up, and being aware of what Unite moves your team has. Basically, how you're going to outplay your opponent in a team fight. Now, macro play is map awareness, knowing where you can push, knowing where the enemy is, knowing where knowing your respawn timers on your farm, things like that a lot of people tend to kind of glaze over, especially in solo queue. They don't really like think about, okay, well, the Altarias and the Swablues are going to spawn at this time, so I need to be there so I can make sure I can get them, so that I can keep all the experience coming our way. Like, people don't really think about that kind of stuff in solo queue. They just go, oh, look, yellow dot, I'll go take it. So
We call that griefing.
It's more or less like first we're going to talk about microplay, and this is a couple things you need to understand in microplay, especially in team fights, or even if you're fighting somebody one-on-one, two-on-one. Now, microplay is what you see all the clips of, like what you see all the clips on Twitter, on Reddit, and everything else. You're like, oh wow, that was like a 1v3 situation. Like, how did they even pull that off? That's all microplay. That's all understanding your mon, understanding the mons that you're going up against, and knowing the limits. Like, you'll hear people talk about limit testing. Like, that's just seeing like, how far can I push this before I end up getting KO'd. Like, that's why people do that, because they know then when they get into a tense situation like that, they know how far they can push themselves before they have to retreat. So let's take a mon that like is very very heavy on microplay. We'll start with we'll think E-Speed Lucario. E-Speed
Mm-hmm.
Lucario is like a huge mon that is very very um micro intensive because you need to know who you can E-Speed off of to get your resets. You need to know, like where to even play on the map. Like I'm sure that you've heard once or twice, never fight an E-Speed Lucario when the Swablues and the Altarias pop up. And why is that? It's because E-Speed Luca going through all of these, he gets a reset off of every single one that he hits. So, knowing that in lane, understanding that before the fight even starts, is he at level 5? Okay, if he's at level 5, you understand he's going to have one of two moves. He's going to either have power up punch or he's going to have E-Speed.
Mm-hmm.
And if he has power up punch, like obviously you know how to play, you got to learn to play around that. But E-Speed, this is the knowledge to not take, let's see, we'll take Espeon. This is the knowledge to not take Espeon right here. Because this E-Speed Luca is just going to zigzag everywhere across you. That's it, that's also knowing about, so we'll get rid of all of these. Let's take somebody that has, it's very important to know where their cooldowns are. Let's take Blastoise.
Mm-hmm.
Blastoise is starting to have a really big name in the meta. Well, not currently because it's bugged, but they have, Rapid Spin Water Spout. If you see a Blastoise, like say you're playing something that's very immobile, like we'll take Pikachu. So you're playing off of your goal. You see a Blastoise go down into Rapid Spin. Your immediate reaction to that should be to run away from it, because if that thing gets on top of you, it's gonna take you out, right?
Right.
So you take now you see Blastoise go in its Rapid Spin a little too early, to try and get on top of you, and then it realizes it can't take you out because you retreat back to your goal, right? So then it turns around, and right here it comes out of Rapid Spin. Now Rapid Spin is going to be down for the next 6-7 seconds, whatever the actual like cooldown is. It's 6 or 7 seconds, I believe. So that's going to be down for the next 6 or 7 seconds. Your team should immediately be jumping on that Blastoise. You should be throwing your moves at it, everything, because it has nothing to fight back with.
Mm-hmm.
So like that's microplay. That's understanding what cooldowns are up, what cooldowns are down. Like I actually had microplay is cooldown management. A lot of it is, to be honest. A lot of microplay is cooldown management, knowing how much damage your moves do, knowing what your executes are, knowing what your burst moves are. So like they'll talk about, like getting farm at the beginning of a match. Like how whoever gets the farm at the beginning of the match can steamroll the rest of the match.
Mm-hmm.
So knowing how to secure farm is a microplay. Like understanding, when you're playing as Slowbro, when the farm starts to get low, you charge up your water gun because it releases this big burst of damage, and you're probably going to secure it over everyone else. A microplay is, Rayquaza is getting really low. Like say Rayquaza is getting like super low. Rayquaza is, or I'm sorry, a microplay is knowing to hold your move that does a huge chunk of damage instead of just, continuously throwing your moves at it. So if you're playing as Rayquaza and you're playing at Rayquaza and you're playing as Espeon, don't throw your Psyshock before you can KO Rayquaza. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? Like, so, because if it's on cooldown and Rayquaza is about to be taken, you have nothing to take it with.
Right. And basic attacks don't always secure like you see in AO's Cup.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that happens once out of every 50 times, maybe. Like, like, that's so rare for it to actually happen to, like, take something with a basic attack. But, it does happen. I'm not going to sit here and say that it doesn't. But, I will say majority of the time, at least like 95% of the time, the person that holds the highest burst move and times it correctly is going to take Rayquaza, which is why like people are afraid of like Urshifu because Urshifu has Wicked Blow that'll literally just completely steamroll an objective fight.
So
So oh god.
I have a real quick question though. When we're talking about something like the 850 birds, and you're talking about an E-Speed Luca or a Rapid Spin Blastoise being there, how do you counter those in order to try and secure farm if your levels are on the line?
If your levels are on the line, here is the thing is that the E-Speed Luca isn't there to try and clean up all the bees. The bees are almost a second thought. They want you to play too far forward. They want you to be in the middle of those so that every time it e-speeds and zigzags across the Altarias, it's doing damage to you and they can get a KO and now they're going to KO your partner and now they're going to get a bunch of scores.
So you just want to stay out of their
You want to stay out of
their
their
zigzag and
range.
just B press.
So you want to like say in that scenario, you're playing as Luca, you're playing against a Luca and you have an Espeon. You know, Espeon has a really good range. So you're going to want to fire from farther back to make sure that you stay out of Luca's E-speed range. So like Espeon has some of the best early game secure in the game. Like you can stay this far back and still be able to maybe get like one or two. So like you want to try and get as much as you can without putting yourself in immediate danger.
Okay. Okay.
Now,
That makes sense.
I actually like the thing that really like made me realize how important um microplay is, like as far as understanding your opponent. This happened a while ago and I was playing as Wigglytuff. Everyone knows that Wigglytuff's passive is Cute Charm, where if you're too close to the mon and you attack it, you get drawn in and your moves get canceled, you get stunned, things like that. I was playing up against literally the world champion at that point, like Kyrios.
Um,
I was playing against a stack that had Kyrios in it, and he was playing Luca. Now everyone knows that playing Luca into a Wigglytuff is a nightmare, especially E-Speed Luca, because the second that you try to E-Speed across a Wigglytuff, Cute Charm procs and it completely negates your whole combo. So literally the smartest microplay I think I've ever seen. I was sitting right here because we were setting up for the Rayquaza fight. He literally walked in and punched me once with a basic attack, and it procced my Cute Charm. So now my Cute Charm is down. I don't have enough damage to take him out. He knew that.
okay.
So he literally walked in, punched me once, procced my Cute Charm, and then zigzagged all over me with E-Speed. I was
Oops.
like, I was sat there like flabbergasted. I was like, what? And then like I thought about it. I was like, holy crap, that was insanely smart. Like,
Sheesh.
and obviously the dude's a world champion for a reason, but like it was just one of those things that like, until you see something like that, you don't really like think of it. Like everyone's instinct is, if you have a move that's going to be canceled by Cute Charm, just try and avoid it. Like now when I play against a Wigglytuff and I'm playing someone like Zoroark that can get canceled like that, I tell my teammates if I can, if I'm playing with someone that, if I'm queuing up with like a duo or a trio, I'll be like, hey, I need somebody to go in and proc Cute Charm. I need somebody to go proc Cute Charm. So like I'll tell them to go in so my combo doesn't get stopped dead. So like understanding your opponent is so big in microplay.
Yeah.
It
Which is
Well,
crazy because I think, for a lot of us, I think what you see is, and this is part of the struggle with growing the community, and why I think what we're doing here is so necessary is a lot of people see Pokemon and they want to play, but not even understanding like the absolute granular levels that you can dissect this game for something as really minuscule as procking cute charm so that somebody else can get in and not have their abilities canceled.
yeah,
Like
it's
that's stuff that you're not going to get out of the tutorial, honestly. And until you said it, I didn't even think about it because every mod in the game has a passive. And every passive does something differently. And if you can study those passives and make yourself aware of what they do, you can set yourself up for greatness by knowing something as simple as using a basic attack to proc Q charm so you can zigzag all over a Wiggly and burst them out of existence. Like,
yup.
that's nuts to me.
Like now everybody knows like all the EVs, their passive is like basically they get a free full heal. Like they get a get out of jail free card. Like
Mm-hmm.
Espeon has magic bounce,
Yep.
um Glaceon has snow cloak, things like that. Now here's a fun little thing, and I learned it because Charizard started getting more play. When I'm Glaceon, now Chars Unite, everyone knows you need to be grabbed for it to work.
Mm-hmm.
So like what I will do in a team fight is if I know my snow cloak is up, I'll bait the Unite out of Charizard because he'll try to grab me and it'll cancel his Unite.
Oh, that's frustrating. That's frustrating. Hi,
Yup.
Squirtle.
Oh yeah, like if you try, like if you have Snowcloak up, you basically just piss off the Charizard so it comes after you and it tries to unite you and it'll cancel its unite and then basically you just counter unite and steamroll it.
Sheesh. AJ said, not if I flamethrower you first for the slow. As a char player, it's very frustrating. I can imagine. So I used to main char for a hot minute. That's why I have the I spent adult money on this skin.
Charizard honestly is very very strong, but if you are going to play Charizard and especially if you're going to use it like it's basically always used as a unite machine, like you have to be very observant of the battlefield. Like who can I get my who can I get my unite off on so that I can, start doing the damage that I need to do. And you got to look for somebody that doesn't have unstoppable, that doesn't have, a cuz he can grab a hindrance resistance.
Mm-hmm.
But, you're looking for those unstoppables whose full heal is down. If there's a Blissey, have they use safeguard? Is safeguard
Mm.
down? Like it's you have to be more observant of the battlefield as to so that you can grab the right person and not have your alt canceled and then all of a sudden the team fight that you were about to just steamroll and win, now you're getting pushed back the other way. There's I know they're not very prominent right now, but Serena is the same way. Serena, you need if their unite move, you got to grab someone, and
Yeah.
so you have to be very aware of what's going on.
Now, is what they're saying true? Either using like a flamethrower or a flare blitz. If you are looking at somebody like an Espeon or a Glaceon, will that move proc their passive so that you can ult them?
Yes. There are two moves that will actually no. There's a lot of moves because it negates a status effect, any status effect. So throwing flamethrower at them puts a burn. It'll negate the burn. But now they lost magic bounce or they lost snow
Oh.
cloak. Or fire punch does the same thing. Now I know a lot of people don't use fire punch because it's not very good, but fire punch applies a burn, so it'll negate the burn, but now they lost their passive. Flare Blitz does the same thing because it's a stun. Like Flare Blitz actually like stuns them for a second, so it'll negate the stun. But now when you use Flare Blitz, you're right in front of them. You negated their snow cloak is down, and you can insta ult them. Like it's just understanding how to play around what's going on at the moment.
So what you're saying is we're gonna get a whole episode on Mons and their passives next.
So understanding Mon's passives is so ridiculously insane. Like understanding their passives, understanding what effects their moves apply. Because like there was a point where back when Greedent was an absolute menace to society. Greedent's
He is
covet
now
was
too.
unstoppable. Like you couldn't do anything to it. And then they finally added the hindrance resistance, and now like obviously it gets applied to Blastoise, it gets applied to Greedent. It's hindrance resistant, it's not unstoppable, so now they can be grabbed.
Which is why Buzzwole is such an effective counter to Blastoise Rapid Spin because you can absolutely pick him up out of that Rapid Spin and just throw him against a wall,
Yup, you can pick up
which
a
is
Blastoise,
stupid.
and while it's yeah, while it's being picked up, it basically you're repositioning it, and what's going to happen is you're going to pick up that Blastoise and you're going to put it in a bad spot, and it's going to come out of rapid spin in a bad spot, and it's just going to get bursted. So
Can you leech him yet or just yeet him?
no, you can you can't leech life. Leech life is so easily canceled. It's leech life is so bad because of that. Like leech life, they can eject button out of leech life. Your own your own teammate can accidentally knock somebody out of your leech life.
Oh, that's good to
Like,
know.
that's what that move is so bad. Like I love it and I think it's really good like if you're in a 1v1 to completely like turn it around, but like outside of that in a team fight or anything like that, people are so easily knocked out of leech life like it's not even worth it.
Got it.
So now I'm sure everybody's got a kind of like an understanding of what micro plays are, and to really take the time to learn your mon, especially if it's one that you want to main, like really learn. Hey, when I do this, does it have a secondary effect that isn't very obvious, or is it just for damage? It's things things like that. When you're playing against somebody, do they have this move up? Is their unite move up? Like you'll hear pros even they'll talk about this when they play up against a slow bro. They'll be like, I can't go in. I can't go in against a slow bro. It's just gonna unite move me.
Mm-hmm.
Like so, understanding that is a micro play. So you want to do a whole bunch of damage to the slow bro to try and get it to unite just something, and have it not be the carry.
And normally that's why they call out, especially like in a team fight situation, they call out when a specific ult has been utilized so you know like where your safe space is essentially.
Yeah, more or less. All right. So now, because we got that out of the way, we are going to move into what I'm sure everybody is here for and more for a deeper understanding of is macro play. And this is controlling the map. This is if you've ever played against a team and you're like, holy crap, I feel like they're everywhere at once. That's because their macros were insanely good.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's so we're gonna I'm not gonna teach you every single macro play in existence because like I said, they are macro plays are very situational. Whatever is going on in the moment, you need to know how to pivot and make the correct macro play. Now in solo queue, it's a little different. Everyone's got their own agenda, even on your own team. So it's a little different knowing how to make like solo macro plays as opposed to as opposed to like playing with a trio or a five or something like that where you can make more informed macro plays.
Mm-hmm.
So I know everybody's first instinct is like talking about first objective, right? Oh, we're talking like everybody rotate bottom, don't go to Regieleki. Like that's like the obvious macro play, and it's ones that we all wish that our solo queue teammates made. But I am going to propose a very true but going to be unpopular opinion.
Okay.
If you are the only one that goes to the bottom Reggie and the rest of your team went top, who's really throwing the team fight?
You? And Squirtle even said the same thing in chat, and I think that's something to pay attention to. Also, is for somebody like me who doesn't solo queue, trying to take a duo, trio, or 5 sec mentality into solo queue is not going to pan out for you, like 99.9% of the time.
Yeah, like I forget what content creator it was, and I heard this a long time ago, and it was something that really stuck with me when it came to solo queue. And it was, in order to play solo queue right, you got to play it a little wrong.
Hi, how
And
are you?
that means your team's not always going to make the right play. But if you see them making a play, it's if you see them making a play in general, it is more detrimental for you to not be there helping them make that play than it is for you to do what you consider right in that moment. It is better to make a bad decision with 100% commitment than a good decision with a half commitment. So, because that bad decision, even though it may be bad, if you're all there and you're all fighting, it might work out. If you're all split up and you're all making separate decisions, nothing's going to work out, even if it is the right play.
Well, and I can tell you, even from experience, trying to take a 5 sec mentality into a solo queue is if you are the only gamer at bottom Reggie and the entire opposing team is there, but your whole team is up at a Lucky, maybe reevaluate your situation. Maybe reevaluate your macro play in that moment. Because a 1v4, 1v5 situation isn't going to help you secure the bottom objective.
Yeah. Like if you like, don't get me wrong, maybe one time out of 10, you're going to be a Pokemon that has a pretty good snipe. You're going to be, Mew. You're going to be Decidueye. You're going to be someone that's got like a really good far away last hit. And yeah, you're going to snipe that. They're going to think that nobody's there. You're going to sit there and you're going to snipe it from them. And you'll be like, oh, well, I just secured the bot Reggie all by myself. Well, yeah, you did it one time out of how many times have you attempted that?
Exactly. And it's not going to happen
Like,
every time.
And, it's the same thing, like, if you're doing that, you are the Reggie fight equivalent of the Cinder that sits in a bush waiting for Rayquaza to get low.
Hate it.
Like, in all seriousness, you are. Like, so, and it's one of those things that, like, you don't think of because it's the right play. Like, in a perfect world, you want all of your teammates to come down to the first Reggie because it gives you the most experience and it gives you a buff, and you can push the lane afterwards if you're all there. It makes sense. But like the thing is, Unite's not a perfect world. Unfortunately, you're going to, especially if you're playing solo queue, you're gonna have to pivot. Like, part of macro play is knowing when to pivot and make a different play. The Reddit Bush wonder. Oh god, yeah. And the thing is like, like, think about how pissed you are at that Cinderace when that happens. Now the rest of your teammates who think that they're making the right play up at Regieleki see you doing that. They feel the same way. They're like, "What are you doing? Why aren't you here helping the team?" So, that's what I'm going to kind of like preface this whole thing is like, understanding when to pivot is so crucial when it comes to macro play. But I am going to teach you right now a couple of a couple of normal macro plays that help. This is going to help you if you're a trio. This is going to help you, in your when you're five stacking, and if you have certain people that are knowledgeable about the game when you're playing. This is also going to help you in solo queue, and it's important when you recognize it, like to know that these are the plays that you should be making. All right. So first off, play number one. Whenever you're going down the lane, please make sure that your partner at least gets one of them, unless they're rocking an experience share.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're in a perfect world, you want to split these 50-50. Like, don't take all of them. Like, I understand it happens on accident sometimes, and like then you have someone that throws a hissy fit, but like try to split these 50-50. All right, so first and foremost, we're gonna do that. These all walk down the lane, and so macro play one, knowing when the bunnies spawn, knowing where you have to be when the bunnies spawn. And that is, I believe, exactly at 9:50. 1 second. I just need double check. I don't want to give erroneous information. Oh, I'm sorry. 9:40. My mistake. 9:40. So these four bumblebees spawn at 9:40.
What up, baby?
Smash!
That is
Smash Stats resubscribed for 7 months. Lucky number 7 bish
these four
spawning
bumblebees
like the
spawn at
bunnies.
9:40. So knowing where you have to be when these spawn, so like 20 seconds after the match starts is when your first farm is actually spawning in. If you're not the jungler. If you're the jungler, your buffs spawn in at 9:50.
Mm-hmm.
So your buffs in these two ball toys spawn in at 9:50. So those. So we're at. Can I lower this?
I think it's also important to note
Oh, it only
too,
goes to
when we're
30
talking
minutes.
about these bumblebees going through lane, this was something that I had to educate myself on too. The loading screen now allows you to see the items that your teammates and your lane partner are running. So learn to identify items that require stacking, especially in a solo queue situation, or if you're duo trio and your lane partner is not in your comms. Knowing how to split the farm effectively so that your teammate can stack. You have to also be able to balance your need to Evo versus their need to stack. So just
And
be aware
I
of that.
did misspeak. I apologize. Buffs are at 9:45, not 9:50. That was my bad. But yes, stacking. So stacking items are some of like the most overpowered items in the game. They give you so much of a buff to the stat that you have it for, that stacking is very, very important. And at least getting one, if you can at least recognize that your lane partner is stacking at the character selection screen, you have to like let them get some farm so they can stack. It is so important, because now as soon as you get to the top lane, they're going to run over to the other side and they're going to stack. If they have nothing to put in if they have nothing to score, and you took all four of the lane bunnies, well, now they have to try and now they have to try and get farm from the other side, and now your opponents are on our side stacking, and so one of your opponents is going to be stacking and the other one's going to be on their side taking the farm that your lane mate is supposed to be taking to stack. Like, you have to understand that it's not just you that needs to evolve. Like, your other people need to hit power spikes too. And understanding that is going to make your lane a lot stronger, especially like in the beginning laning phase. Like, it is going to make sure that you don't lose lane if you're learning how to spread out your farm between your lane partner.
Yes. And that's key. Like if your partner is running experience share, have at thee. Especially if you're a mon that needs to get your Evo in order to be effective. Like, so if your lane partner is an EV, for example, like obviously with an EV or an A9, You want to see them hit their 4 so that they can become effective, but at the same time too, like understand if you are running with somebody who needs to stack and is not running experience share, you're going to have to find that balance. Rixel also said if you have someone in your lane who's a harder level 4, level 5 carry, you want them to get more XP down the lane. You usually want them to have 3 of the lane bunnies to get level 3, which is true because for somebody like me who tends to run squishy attackers, if I have somebody who does an insane amount of damage at level 5, like let's say an Urshifu or even a Lucario, I want them to get nice and healthy first so that they can protect my squishy ass too.
Yes,
We
exactly. Understanding who has the harder level spike in your lane is also incredibly important. Like having a level 5 Luca is more important than having a level 5 Pikachu.
Facts,
You know what I mean?
facts, hard
It's
facts.
and so like you have to plan that out before you even get to lane. So, like Pikachu can hit level 4, like even just like passively getting farm, like on your side. So if you even give Luca 3 of the bunnies going up, Luca goes off to stack, you get the contested farm, and then you at least get one of your side farm, and then the back ball toy that spawns at 9
9.
minutes back here, you're pretty much guaranteed to hit 4, no matter what. You do not need to be a farm hog.
Well, and a lot of the times too, if your lane partner is stacking, there's going to be 1 and 2 situations you're going to run into. They're either going to be trying to prevent your lane partner from stacking, so they're going to be nice and distracted, and you get all that yummy, delicious farm to yourself uncontested, or they're going to be stacking themselves.
Right.
So you're going to have 1 or 2 situations there, and obviously the former being the ideal situation, so that you can sit there and gobble up farm, and then go in and try and help your lane partner who's probably inting at that point for stacks. We do have 2 questions, SoLow, if you want to.
All right. Yep. We'll be more. We'll stop and take
AJ,
questions.
AJ is number 1 in the queue. So AJ, if you want to go ahead and type your question into chat for us, friend.
All right.
It's really common and competitive, but why do they hit the second Bunnelby and leave it until later? And when do you know when to finally kill that Bunnelby? That's something I've often asked too.
I was wondering if somebody was going to actually ask this question. So there is 2 common practices, and this is usually in 5s because this is where you can kind of plan it out with your lane partner. They'll either take the first 2, like they'll take the first Bunnelby and the second Bunnelby, or they will take the first Bunnelby, leave the second Bunnelby, and then take the last 2. So what'll usually happen is they'll either take this one and this one. Oh, wait. I was like, wait a minute. I don't know if you could see my cursor. So they'll take the first one and the second one, and then they'll leave these 2 and just blow past them. Or they'll take this one, just hit this one so that it stacks up onto these, and then either leave these 3 or take these 2. So the question is why? Why do they do that? And the answer is actually twofold. Because this Indeedee spawning right here, this Indeedee is very, very important because Indeedees give a lot of experience. They give more than Bunnelbees. And so you want this to go to your side. Doesn't matter who gets it on your side, you want that to go to your side. It's the same thing with the top lane. Sorry, I'm just looking around here. The top lane with this Bunnelby. So oh yeah, I forgot that there's also a ball toy that spawns like right there. But it's important to understand that you need to fight over this contested farm. So they'll leave these to negate the time that it takes to get here and then secure that middle one. So basically they'll get here and they'll kind of the defender, we'll just take Wigglytuff. The defender will kind of like box out a little bit, and then your attacker comes in and takes the middle farm. So they get there beforehand so that they can create that box out situation. Now, what's the second? Now, the second reason is that, say you go down there and you're hard losing lane, you're stuck. Like, you are stuck in an evolution. Like, you're a Jigglypuff at level 3, and you're like, I can't secure farm because they have, they have an Espeon and
A Zacian.
they have what's up?
A Zacian.
Yeah, I mean, like, in all seriousness, like, they put all arounders in the bot lane. Like, let's say you're up against a really oppressive lane, like you have, where is he? Let's say somebody does. They put Espeon and Zacian in a lane. How are you supposed to confirm anything over them? And so you're stuck as a Jigglypuff. Well, guess what? You have 2 pieces of farm behind you.
Yeah.
That they can't get to because it's down a flux zone unless, they get really ballsy and try to go for it. But now you can go back here and take those and you get your evolution.
So it's about prioritizing that in DD, and the time that it takes for you to take the bumblebees. You could be securing a first spot at that bumblebee and maybe putting a defender in place to zone out the opposition.
Rataurus _ just gifted
you
1
want
subs.
The thing is like your defender, you kind of want up in the mix so that they can use their stuns. They can use their stuns to prevent your enemy from last hitting. So, like, obviously, if we're gonna continue with Wigglytuff has defense curl that when you roll through someone, it knocks them up. And Slowbro or Slowpoke has water gun that it can secure with as well. So you have to understand what mons you're playing as well. So, like, what you're gonna coordinate a burst with your Espeon. Like, the Eevee's gonna throw Swift and you're gonna throw water gun, and then one of you two is gonna get it.
Yeah.
Like, it's the 2 highest early game secures in the game besides Fellstinger from Buzzwole.
Okay.
So you want to make sure that you get this in DD and have this experience going your way, because early game experience is so important, especially if you're playing oppressive mons. Like, Espeon is oppressive early game. The
Seriously.
second it gets Psyshock,
oh yeah,
like, no joke, the second that it gets Psyshock, it's going to live on your side of the map. It's going to live on your side of the lane. Sorry. And it's just everything you're trying to get, it's just going to take it. It's just going to take it.
It sees Psyshock at level 4, so realistically what you have is a similar situation to a level 1 Mew with a Solar Beam. And as quickly as Eevee evolves into Espeon at that point, you may as well be up against a level 1 Mew with Solar Beam.
Yeah, I mean, well, Mew's Solar Beam's kind of been taken down, but its Electro Ball is, especially if you play it with light screen, its Electro Ball can last hit farm from like half health. It's ridiculous, but
not with the nerfs now. We actually have 3 more questions stacked up too. But
right,
I
yep.
do just for the purposes of time, I do want to take a short break, like right at the top of the hour, just so everybody can stretch and hydrate and take a bio break, etc. Because I know that this is a lot of information to take in, and honestly, SoLow, I think we're going to be fielding questions for a good portion.
No, I anticipated this. I even said to Crunchus earlier, I'm like, I anticipate this one's going to have a lot of questions. So
Yes. Did we finish answering AJ's question though?
yes, yeah. Like I said,
Okay.
the answer is twofold. You want to be there for the middle in DD, and you don't want to get level locked.
Got it. Okay, so Ninera has our next question. Ninera, if you want to type your question in chat, please. Skip my question. It got answered. I got you. Okay, fantastic. If this was already covered, apologies, but exactly what is stacking and how do you keep track of this? That's actually a really good question, especially for noobs. All
right, so anybody that has never played with these items before, this is a whole new concept, and I apologize. I'm doing the one thing that we kind of try to prevent with this series, and that's like thinking that people already know. Stacking, there are 3 items in the game that are considered stacking items. It's attack weight, special attack specs, and Aeos cookie. Attack weight, every time that you score, your attack goes up. With special attack specs, same thing, except with your special attack. Aos Cookie increases your HP every time you score, up to 6 times. So you're going to see people at the beginning of the game trying to stack their attack weight really, really fast. So they're going to be taking small amounts. You're going to be taking, 1, 2, 3 points. And they're going to be trying to just, do quick dunk, and like get as many stacks on their attack weight as they can.
With 6 being the max, right?
What's up?
6 is the max on stacking items?
6 is the max. Yes, 6 is the max amount of stacks you can have. So you're going to have a defender that, like, Snorlax will go in with an Aos Cookie, and it'll just, especially because of how oppressive Snorlax is right out of the gate with tackle, it'll just take farm, stack, and it's like what I mean by stacking and splitting up the early farm, like the lane farm, is you want your people that have those items to be able to get them stacked up as quickly as humanly possible, because then they are more beneficial to your team overall and they're better in a team fight. So when you have these people that have those items, which I actually, hold on, I can pull them all out. Look at that. I forgot that this was here. I don't know if I'm going to zoom in on it.
Get those specs.
There we go.
There we go.
Right there. Those 3 items. If you see any of your allies that you are laning with have those 3 items in there slotted in, they are stacking.
Mm-hmm.
And they need Aos energy.
So Rat actually asked a good question on top of that. Who has the priority on stacks? Your healer, your defender, or your all-rounder? Because we've seen lanes where you can have dual stackers, but in that case, who would take the priority? Like, how do you determine what's most beneficial for your lane and your comp in that moment?
That's a tough question. More or less, like, that's why I usually try to say you only want like 1 stacker per lane. But if you're in solo queue, you have multiple stackers. It completely is dependent on what mon it is, how fast they need their power spike, and are they going to be able to stack later on in the game. So you have someone like Dodrio, who's very fast, going to be scoring all of the time. Getting their stacks right out of the gate, great, fantastic. You're probably going to steamroll a fight.
Mm-hmm.
But if they don't get them right away, they're fast enough and elusive enough that they can get to a tier 2, score like 5 points, and get out without getting KO'd. Lucario 100% does need them. Like, Lucario's scaling is insane. Yeah, like a greeting can stack later.
Yeah.
Like, that's,
and most defenders, based on their HP, can stack later in the game too, right?
Yeah, the thing is like, you want to make sure that if you're stacking as a defender, you're not leaving your team out to dry.
Okay.
So, like, like if you're like, oh, look, Regieleki's up, I'm going to go stack in the bot lane because no one's going to be there. Well, you're getting your whole team killed because you're the defender and you're not there. So, having... I'm going to say this right out of the gate. Special attack specs, out of the 3 that we have, special attack specs are the hardest to stack. Because they usually go, if they're on a mage, mages are very not mobile. And, it's hard to get into the goal, score really quickly, and get out. So if you have a mage that's stacking, you want to make sure that they get their stacks in before the goal's broken.
Yep.
Because it's going to be harder for them to get to tier 2 and get out. Mew
and
is
that's
very
also
mobile.
why comms are
Mew's
so
kind of the
important
exception.
too. Yeah.
You have somebody like Espeon. You have, Glaceon's a little mobile,
Excuse
but
me,
still it
Daddy?
only has 1
Sorry.
dash every few
Daddy,
seconds.
sorry. Daddy, sorry.
You have somebody
Daddy?
like, Pika.
Sorry. Daddy, sorry.
Espeon.
Daddy,
Delphox
sorry.
is
I'm
mobile
sorry.
depending on what build you're playing, but it's just, it's easier for somebody that has a lot of health or somebody that is very mobile to just get in, score, and get out.
We do have
now,
one.
As far as, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead. Go ahead.
Now, as far as your supports, it's okay as a support to get, like 3 stacks and be like sit there, like for the rest of the game. Like you obviously want to get to 6, but like the whole thing about a support, especially if you're playing a healing support, is that you're doing that so that your heals are bigger. The thing is like you want your damage to also be there, because you can heal all you want, but if your Lucario isn't sitting at 6 stacks and you're sitting at 6 stacks, like, yeah, you're gonna stay alive, but your Lucario isn't doing enough damage to win the team fight.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
it's it's a give and take. You have to like identify who you're laning with. So if you're if you're Comfey, which Comfey is actually really easy to stack with because you just wrap around the person that's scoring and then you both score together. But you're playing as Comfey, it's more important for your Lucario to stack over you. It's more important for your Buzzwole to stack over you.
right.
You're playing things like that. It's, and then on top of that, Aeos Cookie is almost always second priority. Like if you have somebody with an attack weight and you're in the lane with somebody with an Aeos Cookie, like their stacks are more important than yours.
100%. We do have one more question, Emilio. If you wanna type your question in chat for us, friend. And then after Emilio's question, I'd like to take just a quick break.
Yep, not a problem.
It may not be too related, but
Well, we're here for all.
we're here for it. Yes. Wanted to ask about waiting for 950 to kill the Xatu. Are you talking about as a jungler?
Oh, as a jungler, that's actually a very good micro play. And it is because a lot of people don't really ever think about this. XP scales throughout the game. And at the beginning of the game, almost everything XP scales throughout the game. The Xatu and these Bunnelbees will always give the same amount of XP. So, the reason that they do that is because they will they'll build up passive XP. So at level 1 you're building up passive XP like over and over and over again. So they want, when they take out that Xatu, they want to get the most amount possible before moving on to their buffs. So they'll let more passive experience build up, so that when they take out the Xatu, they're a higher level and they take out their buffs quicker. Because you have your second stat increase instead of trying to do it at level 2.
Interesting. So you build up the passive quicker when you are lower.
Yeah, when you build up, well, it's not that you build it up quicker, it's that it takes less experience for you to get from level 1 to level 2 than it does from level 2 to level 3.
Got it.
So you're letting it build up, it's going to seem like it's just building up quicker because you're at a lower level, but what's actually happening is you're just going to hit the threshold faster because it takes less experience to get there.
Awesome. Well, we've reached the top of the hour, so we're going to take a quick break. Everybody stretch, hydrate, bio break if you need it, grab a snack, and we will come back with the second hour of today's episode. What? Kelly? Colin, you're gonna have to keep up with this. What is going on? Oh! Kelly? my God. Oh my God. Colin, can we give a shout out to Kelly, please? Oh my God. Look at this, I'm fucking shaking. Oh. Listen, I already cried on stream once, not today, but I've done it once. Holy crap, thank you. Welcome, Raiders. Thank you guys so much. Kelly. Oh. He's gonna do it again. Watch this. The disrespect, man. The absolute disrespect.
Hey, I'm in the to keep.
Oh, you guys want to do this dance? You guys forget I have a healer and sustain. We could do this all day if you want. Oh no, here they no. Ah!
I didn't get
Woo!
No way you just got out of that.
Yeah, I did! 5 HP to dream! Oh, and I took him out too!
There's 3 top and I'm hitting bottom.
Mosh, look what I did! That's what it's all about. You put your right foot in, you put your right foot out, you put your right foot in, and you shake it all about. You do the hokey pokey and you turn yourself around. That's what it's all about. You put your whole foot in, you put your whole foot out, you put your whole foot in. What?
Please, I
What?
beg you.
What
Please.
happened? What happened?
I love you.
What happened? I got it. Do you know where the dishes are? You know what? I had that coming. I'm gonna take a bite because full disclosure, I was 100% sauced in that clip. 100%. I was 6 sheets to the wind. I think that was my birthday stream. Maybe, I don't know. We were doing something, but I that was my first time trying soju.
Oh, and I noticed this while we were on break and I came back. Zaddy Zat, no, you don't come back to the Zatu. You just wait to take it out. So you basically like leash it until 950 and then take it out.
I get leashed until 9:50 sometimes too, but that's okay. Moving on. All right, we're back. We're back.
Oh God.
We're back. All right. So I think we got everybody's questions in the chat. So you just stand there. Well, wouldn't you take the ball toys over the Zatu?
Well, no, the ball toys don't spawn in until 940 or 945. Sorry.
Okay.
So you're basically like you're like kind of just leashing it along, and then like around the 950 mark, you're just like, so you're basically just trying to optimize your jungle clear. That's all it really all comes down to.
So do you just poke at it until 950 and then wipe it out?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. Okay. So you're not just standing there, but you can just very gently
Yeah,
press.
it's worth right. 947 if you want to be specific.
Okay.
If you want to get down to the second, it's 947. But like anywhere in that range, you're gonna get decent value out of it. But if you want to get the most bang for your buck, you take it out at 947 and then move over to your buff.
Awesome. All right, SoLow, the floor is yours, friend. Also, I will just remind everybody, if you weren't here at the top of last hour, we do have a couple of things. One is there is a queue. If you do have questions, use the ! question, and we will put you in the queue. I only ask that you hold your questions until we address you so they don't get lost in chat. Also, SoLow does offer coaching, so if you have any interest in getting coached by SoLow, which I can hard vouch for, use the chat command ! coaching, and then also the chat command ! B2M to get the link to SoLow's YouTube channel for his Beginner to Master series, which he does concurrently in correlation with our episodes, with the exception of today. But if you want to educate yourself on everything that we've gone over, whether you go back to the VODs from the last episodes or you go to SoLow's YouTube channel, just some more in-depth breakdown. But honestly, super hard vouch for SoLow and his expertise here, because I have learned a lot from him personally. So just wanted to throw that out there in case you guys, need that info. So there you go.
And just to throw it on top, my coaching is super cheap, like almost like criminally cheap. So, anyways, so now we're gonna kind of turn this into a little bit of a classroom. We're gonna get everybody involved. This is
Let's
gonna
go.
be a little more fun.
Woohoo!
So-
Group project.
So for everybody, how much is my coaching? I usually don't like
For
to
you,
talk
Squirt?
prices. What's up?
I said for you, Squirt.
For Squirt or for everyone else? Um, no,
Damn.
but for individuals, I do $10 an hour, and I will do a full VOD review with you. We will go over some of your gameplay. We'll go over macro decision making, things like that. How you can get better is $10 an hour, and then for teams, which I do full team coaching sessions as well. Help with macro play, positioning, things like that. That is $20 an hour. So, but anyway, moving past that, we're going to do what you got? We're gonna get everybody involved. So on the map, who can tell me what the first major objective is?
Not selecting the dog.
Well, yes, that.
This is good.
Center birds.
Staying alive, mid birds,
And I'm going to tell
Rayquaza.
you all, every single one of you is wrong.
Damn.
Your first major objective, and is split between two lanes. Your first major objective is this contested DD in DD right here, and this Bunnelby right here. Those
Okay.
are the first two major objectives, and it happens literally like instantly at the beginning of the match. You need to be ready for this, because this is where the XP swing goes. Yes, and the ball toy. The ball toy, if you're stacking and you're like trying to come back to these, and these both are up here, you want this one first. So you go for this if you kind of whiff. I'm sorry, not this one. You want to take this ball toy. The ball toy is not as important as the Indeedee down here, but you want to take it. You want it for yourself. It is minuscule experience going over to your side, but you want it for yourself, because especially if you're stacking, you want that. But when this appears, you want that. That's at 920 that this pops up. And you need that. Bottom lane, this Indeedee popping up, you desperately need that.
Mm-hmm.
It is like, I don't think you guys understand like how much experience Indeedees actually give. Oh yeah,
bottom of the top half.
yeah, there is another Indeedee that spawns down here as well, and it's the right.
Yes.
There. It'll spawn there.
Yes.
But this is the first one that spawns right here, and you need to be there for it, because that's where the XP swing starts.
Y'all, this game is so much than literally just getting in here and picking your favorite Pokemon and mashing buttons.
Honestly, it is, and I really, really need people to understand that. It is so much more than just picking your favorite Mon. So, and actually, there is a difference between the lane, and a lot of people don't realize this. This Bunnelby right here spawns at 920. This Indeedee spawns at 9:15.
Mm.
There's a 5-second difference between where those things spawn. So having the understanding where you need to be in each lane and at what time is still important. Now, past that, what's the second major objective? Anyone?
I'm sorry. So we were joking the other night in our Step Up Your Stream Discord session, and Nanera was showing people how to add band terms to your chat, and we created the band term Zacian. So now you can't type the word Zacian in my chat.
I will pull the slide back up if I have to.
I'm dead.
Hi, how are you?
Broly, thank you so much for the follow, friend. Okay, so what was the question? What was the question?
What was the second major objective? And I did see it. The second major objective is
The lane birds.
the lane birds.
Okay. Yeah, Nanera, we have to leave it banned now. We have to. That's too good.
Now, there are a few things that go into... I'm going to get rid of those. There are a few things that go into how you play this fight. Because it's the first, sort of team fight that's going to happen. One, is your lane getting ganked? You need to know that because it determines how aggressive you can play.
Okay.
If you are getting... number two, how strong is the gank from your jungler? Because everyone knows, obviously, power spikes are different. If you're getting ganked by, let's see. If you're getting ganked by a Braixen at level 5 that has,
Hi, how are you?
Ember and Will-O-Wisp, as opposed to getting ganked by an Urshifu who is at level 5 and either has Rapid Strike or, Single Strike at that point, you play those fights incredibly different. So, because if an Urshifu comes in, he literally is going to steamroll this fight. Right. Especially, so if he comes down and their jungler goes up, this fight is a wash.
Right.
Unless your jungler, royally screws up, that you are going to steamroll that fight. And you need to know, and you need to understand that, and you need to be there to support your jungler and, just go in with him. Here is, now, if you are getting ganked, if you're up here, and you are receiving said gank, and you know that your jungler is going bot, and their jungler, and you spotted out their jungler who came top, you need to play passive. You need to stay on your side. Holy crap, I cannot enforce this enough. Mm-hmm. There is a big old line right down the middle. You need to stay on your side and not get killed. Because if you get KO'd, if they have 3 people up there and you get KO'd, your lane partner's getting KO'd, and they're going to take all those points and they're going to score. It is so important to understand, especially in the early game, the importance of fighting on your goal when you're outnumbered.
Especially if you have a tier 1 up and you're able to.
I don't care, and I'm going to say this, I do not care if this jungler is on 1 HP. Do not chase it and get yourself killed. Because then it goes from a 3v2 to a 2v1. And now you're it's almost going to make the trade not worth it. Unless you have a surefire way to get in, KO them, and get out, don't even risk it. This is what we call inting. And what inting stands for is intentionally feeding. You're feeding experience to the enemy from your own poor choices. And not only is that affecting you, it's affecting your lane partner. It's also affecting your jungler.
Exactly. Exactly. Because then if you get
So
yourself into a situation where you int and then you create a 3v1 situation in your lane, you're essentially giving your tier 1 up for free at that point.
yeah, exactly. And don't get me wrong, breaking a tier 1 super early, it has its drawbacks. But you're giving so much experience because they're scoring so many points. Like, people forget that you get experience from scoring. If you're just handing off all these points to your enemy and they're just sitting there scoring in your face, like, you're just feeding them experience. Like, people don't realize that.
Exactly.
Now what do you do in a situation where your lane partner just inted and you're getting closed in on?
You sack the pad. You let them have
Now,
it.
no, I mean, like, really early on, where they don't even have enough points
Oh, well,
to break.
you let them score. Simple. It's better for you to stay alive and stay out of that fight rather than inting intentionally on your own pad and just let them get whatever scores in that they're going to get, right?
Now, let's say you're in this scenario right here. Your lane partner inted. Oh, I'm sorry. Your lane partner inted, got themselves KO'd, and you didn't get the gank. Why would you sit there and try to fight that?
I wouldn't.
You are 1v3. Unless, even if you are the most overpowered mon, you are going to lose that. Every single time.
I'm a squishy attacker. I'm getting the fuck out of there because I already know what's happening.
Because you want to know what's going to happen? Instead of them just walking onto the pad and you, like, retreating back here, instead of them just walking onto the pad, scoring their points and leaving, what's going to happen is they're going to walk onto the pad, KO you, score their points, and then score more points from the ones that you dropped.
Exactly.
So now they get, not only did they KO you, they got the, I'm sorry, not only did they score, they got the experience from KOing you, and they got the experience from scoring the points that you dropped. So you have to know when to retreat. You have to know when you're in a bad situation and run away. Like, there is no shame in running away and giving up scores, especially if you're outmanned.
There's a huge amount to be said of how much strategy goes into knowing when to pull back, because I know some of us, W Key Crunches over here, loves to run in, and I just want to pad my damage stats, and I want to get the KO, and I want to dance on people sometimes because, you know, that's Unite. But we also want to win, and sometimes part of a winning strategy is knowing when to say, fuck this shit, I'm out. And I think that's the hard part for a lot of people to kind of reason with.
Exactly, because everyone thinks they just have to fight. Everyone thinks, oh, there's an enemy in front of me. Just keep throwing damage at him. Keep throwing damage at him. No, run away. Like, run away. It is okay.
Inting, also known as egoing. Facts.
Now,
Facts. I do get tunnel visioned every once in a while.
oh, what you got? Now, here's something that I'm going to be talking to the junglers in the crowd. As a jungler, once you gank, what do you do after that? What do you do? Because this is something that I don't quite comprehend that a lot of people do. After your gank, what do you do?
I know the answer to this.
Squirt's a very experienced jungler, so I know he knows all three options here. If there's nothing going on, straight back to jungle. Beautiful. That's option one. Before we go any further, Squirt, before you say anything else, I want everyone to understand this. These buffs are on a 1 minute respawn timer. 1 minute. The second that you take them, that minute starts. You go into lane, you gank, you get your experience, you get the fuck out, and you literally go and re-put your buffs on timer.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just you got to keep them on a timer, because here's the thing: if you let them sit there, that's just experience. It's just sitting there and nobody's taking it.
Right. And
And
you're
now if
also you want it off the map so you don't risk an invade too.
right, you don't want it to. You don't want to be invaded, because if they get like, we're going to talk about invades in a minute here, but like, the thing is, if somebody invades and there's nothing there, who cares if they're in your jungle? Like, who gives a crap? Like, there's no buffs. There's nothing for them to take. They're just there, risking getting KO'd. But the thing is, if you go back, you take your buffs. Now, there is a very, like, delicate time period right here, where you take your buffs, you go into lane, you gank. There is just enough time for most junglers to come back, take their buffs again. Don't take the ball toys, because it's going to take too long. You take your buffs again, and then you go to the go to the middle, and you'll be there by 8 minutes to set up for the birds that are going to spawn here. I'm just going to use one Altaria just to kind of signify that. You will literally, like, you have like just enough time, in most cases. And so if you like time your buffs like the right way, you will be there, and you'll be set up, and you'll be ready to go. Now, what did you say that option 2 was?
Option 2 is if the other jungler is overextending in the other lane, I go invade.
Yes. Okay. Here's that now we're going to talk about the invade. You look at your jungler, you look at the opposing team's jungler, and they're just hanging out in lane. They're trying to, really steamroll the bot lane or something like that, and they're just staying down there, like, farming damage, farming experience, whatever. Nobody went back to take their buffs.
Mm-hmm.
They're just sitting there. What's stopping, especially if you're a strong level 5 gank, what's stopping you from just going and taking them? Like, they're ready. They're there for the taking. Why not? Like, it's knowing when to. You good? Yeah. All right. Knowing when to invade, especially with somebody with a with a very strong early game, like Dodrio, like Urshifu. Who else has like a really, really strong early game? Zoroark has a really strong early gank.
Mm-hmm.
Like, especially if somebody with a especially like if you bring the support with you, because usually the support's in the top lane with the all-arounder. Like, if you bring the support with you, holy crap, you're gonna steal everything, and you're probably gonna KO the jungler. Like, because they're gonna come back for their buffs, and they're just gonna run into 2 people. So it's important to understand that. And then let's see, what did Squirt say that option 3 was? Because I wonder if it's the same as my option 3.
Option 3, if you get a pick at Bs, you keep pushing for scores if the fight is winnable. If not, you get what you can and leave without getting greedy.
Yes. That is where a lot of junglers falter, is getting greedy. You get greedy. I want you to understand something. As a jungler, you getting KO'd is so much more detrimental than anyone in lane getting KO'd. Because not only are you giving up the highest experience on your team right now, you are also giving up both buffs. The person that KOs you takes your buffs. And now you gave red buff and you gave blue buff to someone in their lane. And you are so, like, now you basically just doomed to that lane. Like, you screwed them. Like, in all seriousness. Like, if you int as a jungler, you screwed your lane.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Squirtle also said there's another situational option when you go to invade after the first rotation. You can send the damage carry from the lane you get ganked to your jungle.
Yes. That comes in coordination. This is like very, very coordinated play, where you now, even if you KO their jungler in lane, like say like both junglers meet in the top lane, like say you have, we'll do this the easy way. You have Dodrio coming in for the first gank, and you have Breaksin coming in for the first gank. Two very common junglers. Who is the stronger gank here? It's Dodrio every single time. Dodrio is the stronger gank.
Right.
You know, you come in, you take all the bees because, you know, they can't do anything about it. You come in and you say you KO their jungler. You wipe their jungler out. And then you get away and you run into the center area. You have one of two options here. You can either go back to your jungle and get that, or you can go into their jungle and take their stuff. What's stopping you from going into their jungle and taking their stuff and telling, let's say you have, let's pick someone good. Let's say you have Aegislash as your all-arounder.
Mm-hmm.
Aegislash doesn't peak until level 7, right? So you want them to get level 7 as quickly as possible. You go, hey, I'm going into their jungle and taking their buffs. Because at this point, they still have a Breaksin. What is a Breaksin going to do to a Dodrio? Unless people pull out of lane to come and help. Like, what is going to happen here? The Dodrio is just going to KO him again and take both buffs and leave. You can't, you know, it's happened to everyone. I know anybody that has ever jungled has gotten invaded by a Dodrio, gotten invaded by an Urshifu, gotten invaded by something that is so powerful early game that you cannot do anything against it.
Yeah, Dodrio jungle invade is absolutely disgusting to try and deal with too. You have to try and you really have to try and do damage control on that one as quickly as possible, or it's just going to continue to run through everything.
And the thing is, you go, oh, and if say they have an Aegislash player, or what you got, you have an Aegislash player, and it's somebody that you're in communication with, like you're doing like a duo or a trio with them. You go, hey, I'm taking their jungle. Go take my buffs.
Yep, exactly.
Like, so now you have a Dodrio running around with buffs, and now you have an Aegislash running around with buffs, and they probably evolved because from the early game.
Yep.
It's all about knowing how to maximize your plays, maximize what you're doing. That's actually a very good thing. That's actually a very good thing to do is if you're not in communication with someone. If you're invading jungle, going onto the map and pinging your own jungle so that people understand, like, hey, this is open, go take it. Like,
yeah.
It usually gets the point across. Some people don't understand what you're trying to say, but like it usually gets the point across of like, hey, I'm about to take their buffs. Hey, I'm invading their jungle and I'm about to take all their crap and leave. Like, you don't need double buffs. It doesn't do anything more for you. So having 2 sets of buffs on your team and all of that experience is much more beneficial than you going in, taking all of their buffs, going all the way back to your jungle, taking both buffs, and, you know, then going to the objective. Like, it is so much more beneficial to have those buffs on somebody else.
Yep.
And on somebody else, so that you're meeting in the middle for these 8-minute bees, or 8-minute birds, and you have 2 people with buffs coming in and people that are hitting more level spikes.
And as somebody who tends to run Venusaur a lot, and with Charizard and Blastoise coming back in the meta, opening that up for your teammates who tend to get Evo locked is also massively beneficial too. So, you know, making sure, obviously, as a jungler, you want to see your levels first. But if you are at the point where you can invade successfully, and you have other farm that's available to you on the map, is if you have, let's say, a T-Tar, a Blastoise, a Charizard, or a Venusaur on your team, it's always helpful to open that jungle up to them as well. And honestly, like what Squirt says, is if you have somebody and you're solo queuing and your teammate understands the assignment, it's gold. Like, it doesn't get any better than that.
100%.
We do have a question in queue also, Solo, when you're ready.
All right, yeah, because I'm about to go on to the next major point of the match.
Vision, your question, friend, go for it. I love that we have so many questions. Do you think Zoroark is up there with one of the strongest ganks at level 5?
Okay. Zoroark is one of the highest skill ceiling Pokemons in the game. I'm going to say that first and foremost. If you have somebody that is very good with Zoroark, you will win every single first gank. Like, no joke. You will win every single first gank. If you have somebody that is very good with Zoroark, they will win every single first gank for you. Even if you're matching with the jungler. If you have somebody that is bad at Zoroark, you're in trouble. Because Zoroark is so frail and so skill reliant that if you don't practice it a lot and understand its cooldowns, understand, repositioning, things like that, you're gonna get yourself KO'd, and all of a sudden, like, you're literally gonna screw your lane.
We had a couple more questions pop up in the queue. Emilio, do you want to ask your question, friend? Well, Sarv, that's why we're here. So I'm not going to give that any attention. What's the tier list for which wild mons you give you more experience? I assume the bunnies give less experience than the ball toys, but I'm not sure. So how would you rate your wild farm in terms of the experience that they give?
All right, as a general rule of thumb, this is almost across the board. As a general rule of thumb, however much Eos energy they give, so that little number that they have above their head, however much Eos energy they give is how much experience they give. So if something gives 2 and another one gives 5, the one that gives 2 is going to give less. But, also they made it a very good visual size thing. So the Indeedis and the Bumblebees both give 5, but the Indeedis are bigger, so they give more experience, if that makes sense. It's so it's not 100%, it's not foolproof explanation. If you really want to get into which mons give this X amount of experience, I can get on a call with Kyle at one point and we'll talk about it, because he's in the math cord. I will give exact numbers of which gives more and this and that and the other thing, and I will post that. I'll literally put that on Twitter. I'll post that in any of the Discords, and we'll have that conversation. That's fine. But as a general rule of thumb, if they give more Eos energy, they give more experience.
Do you think we could get Kyle to come on as a guest speaker and let people just have at somebody who participates in the math cord and just ask all the real deep questions?
When we do a segment about when we do a segment about emblems, which is very confusing for a lot of people.
Me included.
When we do a segment about emblems, I want to bring him on.
I love
because
this.
He is very, very, very good with emblems.
Okay. So we'll plan that. So just make sure you're following both of us on Twitter or in the Discord, so you can get the announcements when we get ready to roll that out. We do have a question from Rat Taurus also. Emblems are a whole topic, and I know the tip of the iceberg. Facts. I'm one of those people. I'm a button mashing. I put whatever emblems on somebody else tells me to put on. How to pick which lane to gank first? That's actually a really, really good question. As a jungler, okay, how do you pick what lane you're ganking first?
Now, there are 2 scenarios, and you need to consider in your head which one is good for the mon that you are playing. It is you have to think about how strong is the gank that you have. If you're playing Urshifu, you're playing Dodrio, you're playing Zoroark, you're playing, something that is a really strong early gank, you help the weaker lane. You help the weaker lane if you are strong. If you're a weak gank, you help the stronger lane.
How do you make that determination?
How do you make that determination? So if you have a lane, let's say, let's set up a scenario here. So we'll go with my example, Urshifu, and then your top lane you have we'll say a Pikachu, and we'll say a Gudra. I'm sorry, a Pikachu and we'll set this up like it was actually a 5. All right, so we'll do Luca and Eldegoss. Really strong early lane.
Okay.
Like, really strong early lane. And in the bot lane, you have... let's see. Yeah, we'll go, Gudra, and we need an attacker. Let's see. We'll go Sylveon.
Okay.
So, as a jungler, you're like, okay, which of these two, like, if you're a very oppressive first gank jungler, like Urshifu is, which of these lanes needs more help? I think the Luca Eldegoss lane is going to do just fine.
Mm-hmm.
Luca is like a 1v3 mon. Like, especially if you get to level 5.
Okay.
Now, you look at the bottom lane, and you have Sylveon and Gudra. Like, Sylveon's great at level 4. Like, especially, you use Hyper Voice Mystical Fire. But your defender needs a lot of experience before it comes online.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to try and get that experience for your defender. So you come down, you steamroll that lane. You try and get them to get scores. And, it's... You help them along. You help them hit their power spikes. Now, if you're not playing Urshifu and you're ganking a lane with, like, let's say Cinderace, who doesn't even get another move until level 7, you're ganking a lane as a reboot. Like, you have nothing. Like, you have no moves. You want to go to this top lane because they are the stronger lane that's going to help you get more levels. So you are, you know what I mean? Like, you want to do what's best for you as a jungler and what's going to help your team in the long run.
So I think Emilio kind of summarized it by saying, so the stronger jungler can be seen as who can I help more, and the weaker jungler can be seen as who can help me more. Right?
Yes. Yes,
okay.
More or less. And this is strictly solo queue. I want to preface that. This is strictly solo queue.
Okay.
When you are in a 5-stack, you want to make sure that you are coordinating your ganks and everybody knows where you're going beforehand. Like, so you got to be like, okay, I'm going to go here, I'm going to go here, I think we're going to get value here. Like, you can communicate that. Or, like what plan you're trying to execute. But as a solo queue player, if you're going to gank a lane and you cannot talk to the rest of your players, like, you need to understand where you're going to get the most value for yourself as a jungler.
Okay. Yezi, do you want to go ahead and ask your question, friend? Solo queue early game jungler want to get the lane that has the mons with the late game. Late game jungler want to get the lane that has mons with an early game. Is this accurate? That was Zaddy's follow-up question, so we're waiting on Yezi's question too. But would you say that that's accurate?
Early jungle want to get the lane that has the mons with late game jungler want to get the lane. Yeah, that's accurate. Yes.
Okay. So Yezi's question is, what is the next best thing to do if a teammate or an enemy steals your jungle? Because we see that a lot.
Okay. So if it is an ally that steals your jungle, I'm going to tell you with every fiber of your being, do everything that you can to not ping them, because you're just going to create a very bad environment.
Ping, check it out for the rest of the match, says Rixel.
Every fiber of your being, try not to do that. And honestly, if they're gonna steal your jungle, you have to think in your head, if I'm not going to get value here, where can I get value? Where am I needed right now? If somebody is in my jungle taking my buffs and things like that, where am I also needed? Where aren't they? So if somebody pulls in from this lane and, like, say this whole game, like, this whole lane went bad. Like, and this Gudra is like, I need to evolve, and comes in and takes your blue buff. And you go, oh, crap. Like they're taking my jungle. Like you come back from your first gank and this is taken, you know, like things are being taken out of your jungle. And you're like, well, I'm not gonna get any value out of here. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna take your red buff, which is the one that's still up, and you're gonna go where that Gudra currently isn't. Because not only did that Gudra pull out a lane to take a buff, it left the Sylveon by itself.
Right.
And now that Sylveon's gonna get steamrolled.
Rixel's the whole reason we had to create a Unive safe space, just so you guys know. I still have PTSD.
Now, the other thing. Now, if you get invaded, it's the same thing. You find value elsewhere. Now, here's the thing that a lot of people think about. Like, they get really frustrated when you get invaded. It's a really frustrating thing to deal with. But the thing is, if you're getting invaded, that means that 1 or 2 or possibly 3, depending on how many people like barged into your jungle, that means that they pulled out a lane. That means they're not there anymore. So like, if like say they had an Urshifu that ganked lane and all of a sudden they're coming into your jungle because they know that you can't do anything to them. As a jungler, you pull out of that situation. You try to from a safe location. If you're I'm sorry, we'll take the blue one. I'm taking too much from the red. Wait, is Cinderace not on the side? What am I looking at? All right. Anyways, we'll use Venusaur. Like, say you come into this and you go, "Oh crap, we're getting invaded." You try to like kite away from this as much as humanly possible, and stay away and try and last hit your buffs. I'm not saying don't just like give them the jungle. Try and get last hits, but try not to get KO'd.
Right.
Now, if you see somebody's being invaded and you go, "Oh, I can help them," it's okay to pull out a lane and go and help, especially if you're just a support. Like as a support character, especially like Eldegoss, someone that has some type of slow, someone that has some type of stun, it's okay to pull into lane and try and help get rid of the invader. Pull from lane into jungle to help get rid of the invader. It is okay. Oh yeah, I put my Cinder bot lane. I was like, wait, where do you go? It's okay to do that. Like if you see somebody getting invaded, like you should help them. You don't want your jungler continuously getting KO'd. But you also have to know that when you're pulling out of lane, you're losing value in lane. Mm-hmm. So like it's a balancing act. Like you don't want to pull like every single person in here because then you're just giving up all of your lane farm.
Right.
So it's like I said, macro plays are knowing when to pivot. Macro plays are knowing when you're needed somewhere else.
We do have another question queued up for you. Nanera, if you would like to ask your question, friend. And just to let everybody know, this is officially a 10-minute warning. We do these in 2-hour sessions just because it's a lot of information for SoLow to dispense and for everybody to kind of take in. But what I'm seeing is, because I know you and I had this conversation before we even went live, is we'll probably want to have a separate session specifically on the Ray fight. Because I know that that's where a lot of micro and macro plays come into play also, and we didn't have enough time to cover that today. But I also feel like we would probably get another 2-hour session if we were just talking about, situational, and team fighting, yes, for Ray. So Nanera asked, so as to prevent from being the angering poker of the bear, what mobs are considered jungle versus lane? Because those edges are a little confusing. And I think I know what she's talking about, because we know that the buffs specifically belong to the jungle, but sometimes we talk about the shoulder ball toys. So can we talk about like actual like jungle versus lane farm and the etiquette of sharing those?
All right. I'm gonna tell you real quick. All of these are lane. First rotation, and this is like first rotation for the jungler. They want all of this. Second
They need
rotation for the
it.
jungler, they need these. After second rotation, and I'm going to say this, and I know not everybody agrees with me, but I am going to say this as somebody that has played a lot and has jungled quite a bit. I am completely okay with if you are losing your lane and you are like hard locked in an evolution. If on second rotation you come in and take one of these ball toys, I don't care. Like you like this is like you need to, if you need to take one of these to be beneficial at this middle fight, I do not care. Squirt says second rotation needs all of it. I'm gonna be honest, it depends on where your Evo is.
So just to clarify, the bushes are considered jungle.
The bush. Wait, what?
The edging bushes. Yes. So anything on the other side of those boundaries. So the lanes are what you actually see, which are your specified lanes. What we're talking about is, so every once in a while, I think after second rotation, and this is just, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is kind of one of those unspoken understandings, is that after second rotation through jungle, the ball toys that stand at the shoulder, like right on the other side, because I know Nanera's seen me take it. I think that's why she's asking.
Are you talking if you like lose lane super hard and this ball toy spawns?
Yes,
Like
or
if
you're even just coming down lane out of spawn and you know your jungler is off doing their own thing, and you, like, let's say for an attacker you're seeking your power spike, either, you know, level 11 or level 13, and that ball toy is sitting there on the shoulder, but you're not touching the jungler's buffs. Like, the unspoken understanding of shoulder ball toys being accessible to lane mons.
All right, this comes with a caveat, and it's how good the gank went.
Okay.
We're gonna talk about that real quick.
Okay.
If the gank went really well, and they got a KO, they got a score, they got whatever they needed, and they got some good experience out of the lane, and they come back, and, you know, getting these two buffs will get them to level 7 and get them their second power spike. So obviously they get their first power spike when they evolve and they get their first move. Their second power spike is usually at 7 when they get their second move, for most mons, for most of them. If they can take these two buffs and be level 7, these ball toys are free game. If the gank went bad and they got nothing, or, you know, they only got, you know, like 1 or 2 pieces of farm, and you are doing okay in your lane, don't touch anything, because they need all of it.
Mm-hmm. But if your lane is crashing and you need all the XP you can get and you're just looking to clear farm at this point, those ball toys are pretty much a free-for-all, even for the lanes. And I'm talking about, like, let's say after the 5-minute mark. Let's say we're at the point where we're now looking to increase our levels and hit our power spikes before Ray. Like, this is where we're looking to eat good right before we, you know.
Oh, yeah. Those are free game.
Okay.
Those are, yeah. Also, if your jungler is being invaded and they are, like, fighting over a piece of farm and you come in to help them, don't be afraid to take the buff. Do not be afraid to take the buff, because it is better that you take the buff than the enemy taking it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like,
at that point, it's the lesser of two evils, because you don't want your enemy walking away with your blue buff at 215, whereas, you know, somebody on your team would actually benefit from it. So that's, and again, everything is situational. Like, you have to, it's an if-then clause, right? And for us math nerds who love Excel, you have to look at every situation. This is why they call it macro plays, in an if-then situation. So if, you know, the enemy is jungle invading and it's 215 and Ray's about to spawn and you know your jungler is suffering, then it would be appropriate for, you know, an ally Pokemon to take the buff, as opposed to letting the enemy walk away with, you know, 2 blue buffs on their side right before the Ray fight.
right. It's just like I said, all about macros, knowing when to pivot, knowing where you're needed, knowing where to be, knowing how to outplay your opponent by just being where they don't expect you to be.
Right.
And it's so important, especially, and like there's so many other like macro plays and this and that you can make past like past even the
Hi,
first
how are ya?
fight to just like to just like steamroll your opponent. Like I'm gonna give you like I usually save this one for a coaching session, but I'm gonna give you a little freebie here. Ready? So when this top lane breaks, okay, say this breaks right here. You get so much experience down here.
Yep.
It's absolutely insane, right? So let's say before the first fight down here, so before the first bot Reggie comes out, we'll just say it's Reggie Rock. You break this goal on them, right here. And you go, okay, we have really good position for the Reggie Rock. Like, because they don't have a goal to go back to. They don't have berries. They don't have anything. So, like, and they're like, okay, we give up. We're going to go, and we're just going to try and get value somewhere else. We're going to go for the Regieleki. This goal is still up. Like, none of these are here right here. Okay? So, let's say the top lane kind of stalemated, and these goals are both up. You hard pushed the bot lane and broke this. Now, you take Regirock as a team, and you go, okay, what do you do? What do you do past here? Normally what would dictate here is that you would take, all of your mons, and you would push up towards the Regieleki, right? That's what normally you would do in that point, right? You would just kind of go up here, take all the experience. Sorry, it's lagging, so my arrow's like super wonky. But like you would take all the experience along the way, and you would go up to Regieleki and try and take it before the enemies got there and took it. Now, what's stopping you from, sending the person with the least amount of points up to here to guard this goal for a little bit, and having all 4 people just push to the tier 2 and just score? Put yourself in a really far ahead. Like, you literally, like, the thing is they're going to pull off, and they're going to try and go and get this Regieleki because they want value. They want something. They want to win an objective.
Exactly.
They're either going to put one person down there to guard their T2, and if you send 4 people, they're just going to get steamrolled. You cannot 1v4. It doesn't happen. And they don't have jump pads, so you don't got to worry about them basing and jumping on top of you. So you just go back. You have this one person kind of this 1 or 2 people, depending on how many people don't have points, to try and stall out the fight. You go, you push, you score your points, you base, you come to the top lane, and then you fight over the Regieleki. If they get it, so what?
Makes sense.
If I have on a serious question, I want everybody that ever has ever pushed a Regieleki to answer this question for me. If you get Regieleki and it doesn't hit a goal and the enemies take it out, what value did you get from that?
Exactly. You got what?
You got nothing.
20 points that it puts in for you? And that's if it was uncontested when it goes in?
You get nothing out of it. And that's even, like you said, even if it is, and that's saying it hits the goal.
Right. Because as it gets contested, and I don't know that most people know this, or at least a lot of new people don't necessarily know this, when Regieleki gets contested, the point value actually decreases. So if they whittle it down to 2 points and let it go in, you got 2 points out of that.
Yep. Regieleki does not even give XP when you take it out.
It's strictly for the points.
It's literally just a score mechanic. That's it. Now that is not to say there are situations where pushing Regieleki is very viable. But on a normal situation, if this is your scenario, like you have their bottom goal taken out and 2 top goals stand, like you are getting no value out of this. There, like that first Regieleki, there is no value there.
Yeah, I think, and I think to the important point where Smash is pointing out, Aleki does heal anyone on your team who hit it. Pay attention to who hit it. If you had somebody up there soloing Aleki, they're the only person who's going to benefit from that, as opposed to a bot Reggie that buffs your entire team. So that's also something to take into consideration too. Anything that you do, I think, in this game is going to be about value. Where are you getting the most value? Because at the end of the day, points win games. Points wins games. So I think you have to just make decisions on, where your value rests, and that's going to change consistently and along with your win con. We are at the 12 o'clock hour, but I know Yezi did pose another question for the queue. So we're going to take Yezi's question, and SoLow and I have a lot to kind of take back from this chat and really talk about what our next session is going to look like. But
yeah,
I think this is by far the most...
I knew this was going to be a lot of questions, but I did not get to at least half of the stuff I wanted to talk about. So.
Oh, yeah. We could have actually made this a 2 or 3 part, session, which I don't think is really a bad idea, because as metas shift, and even if we are getting a new map for the new year, like we were talking about, everything that we're talking about today may not be valuable to you in the future, because what we're talking about today has to do with Theia Sky Ruins, and you couldn't apply all of the same principles in the same fashion if you were going to go play in remote stadium. So Yezi's question is, let's say a top or bottom thing is broken and the enemies aren't, if you're in a team fight against the enemy team and you just need to score a little to break it, do you just wait to overcap and fight, or just do the little score so the enemy don't have a safe small space to heal to back cap? That's actually a really good question. Yes, the moral dilemma.
Do we wait for an overcap, or do we break it to make the fight fair? And I'm going to tell you, if you are playing solo queue and your entire team is pushing down for that bot Reggie, break it. Just break it, because you have a better chance of winning the team fight.
If you don't have a tier 1 at top, you have a better chance of scoring bottom goal always.
Yeah, it's like, I understand wanting an overcap because it puts so much pressure on the enemy. It puts so much pressure on the enemy to overscore the bot goal by 39 points. It puts you in a really good position. But if you need that goal gone to win that first that first basement Reggie, break it. Just get rid of it. Because in all seriousness, now if you are pushing the enemy off and somebody with 40 points walks on and you have 5 points, and you score those 5 points and break it, you're an asshole. I hate to tell you, you're an asshole.
Which is why you guys will hear me. If I break something and I call out math, I'm throwing, I apologize, I'm selling. That was what it was. Is I was on the goal pad with 17 points while my teammate had 40 and they had 3 left to break it. So in that case, yes, you are the asshole.
Yeah. And Zaddy, the VOD will be up on Crunch's channel for this as well.
The VOD will live in my channel, and then also I will be posting the VOD on my YouTube as well. But please, honestly, you guys, don't let that distract you from going over to SoLow's channel, because you guys can come back and get the information out of this, but what you get out of SoLow's Beginner to Master series is honestly going to probably benefit you so much more, because you won't have to wade through 2 hours of questions and me calling myself out on stuff. I'm really just doing that for posterity's sake, just because this is so much valuable information. And then if SoLow and I want to go back to it and we decide that we want to do some type of spin-off topic, or if we want to put something else into play, or SoLow decides he wants to do an entire coaching series off of it, that is there for him as well. So that being said, we're over the 12 o'clock hour. I'm selling. I know I said that we were going to do customs after this, but I actually have a meeting scheduled right now, because if y'all don't already know, Friday, April 21st, we are doing the run back of the Unite Femme Fatale. So I got the girlies together to do a run back 5-stack, because we had so much fun doing it the first time. But I'm also making a really big announcement. And I mean big in the sense no, I didn't get a partnership. I didn't get a brand sponsorship. This has nothing to do with me and everything to do with the community. So you will want to be here because it is going to change the scope of the Unite community in a big way. So we're going to be doing that on Friday. So I have a meeting about that right now, which is why we're not going to do customs. However,
All right,
4 o'clock p.m. Pacific, we're going to be doing movie night in my Discord and watching Mean Girls. So if you want to come through for that, you are welcome to.
So what? Last thing. What Rixel said was very true. Macro definitely needs more than one session. So how about we do this? How about we break up the macro into 3 different sessions? We'll do it macro decision making for the first 2 minutes to the first objective, macro decision making for the middle of the game, which is like, that lull period where a lot of people kind of lose themselves and don't really know what to do with themselves.
Yes.
And then we'll do one more for how to play the end of the game.
I like it.
Sound good?
I like it. And then, yeah, and we'll talk about what to do in the Ray fight at that point, too. And then also just keep in mind, you guys, we are paying attention to the changes in Pokemon Unite as they're going on. So if we hear that a new map is coming, I mean, obviously we still want to give you guys the information while you're still playing the current map. But if we do hear that a new map is coming, we will also be taking that into consideration. And we will get somebody here from the Math Court, I think Kyle from the Math Court, to talk about emblems. So you guys will have like an actual Math Court expert here that will help talk through the emblems, because God knows your girl needs help too. I can't thank you guys enough. Everybody who's here in the chat, everybody who shows up when we do these sessions, because honestly, like, it's not just about me learning. I'm not going to lie. I took advantage of the fact that I have a relationship with SoLow, and I was like, hey, your girl wants some free coaching, but let's also roll this out to the community. You guys are the entire reason we continue to put these on. So if one person shows up in chat and gets some type of benefit from this, like, that is exactly why we do this. This is all about growing the community. And that is why we do it for you guys. And then also so that if you ever 5-stack with me, I don't need to be completely carried. I can semi-hold my own. So that being said, we're going to go raid Scolded because he is live. But also because I feel like Scolded also is a great source of information too.
Yes.
Very interactive with chat. The dude knows what he's doing. So I feel like it's only right that we take one educational group and send it over to another educational raid too. So we are going to go raid Scolded, and I do
to be
have...
honest, if you have any questions and Scolded actually like sees them in his chat, he will almost always answer them.
Yes. And that's why we love him too. So raid text if you're a follower, and raid text if you are a sub. So pick your raid text, and we're gonna go over and say hi to Scolded. I'm gonna go into a meeting right now. I'm super hyped. Tomorrow night, Rixel, Smash Stats, Squirtle, and TTV Lock are going to carry me to Masters. Maybe, who knows? I might throw, but hopefully not after I've gleaned all of this amazing information today. SoLow, thank you so much for being here. Again, !coaching or !B2M if you want any additional information on how you too can capitalize on SoLow's big brain full of information regarding this game. Otherwise, we'll be back in 2 weeks with the next episode. And yeah, we're going to go say hi to Scolded. So thank you guys so much for being here.
Later, guys.
Bye, guys.